Biennial update, the 2025 edition. You give me 10 minutes of your time, I'm gonna try my best to save you some money. So like any content creator, I'm thrilled when I put a video out there and I see that like over time it becomes more popular, that type of stuff. And I did one of these about 2 years ago when my last biennial update was due. And sure enough, I mean, hey, over time the videos kind of ramped up a little bit, but lately I've been receiving a ton of comments from people saying like, hey, the process has changed, the app, or not the app, the website has changed, the login has changed, all this stuff. And I've responded to all of them. And I said, don't worry, when it comes time for me to do this again in 2025, I for sure will make an update video to this. That's what this video is. I am going to be including a lot of links in this video. Not only am I going to put the links, I'm also going to put the Google search terms that I use to find them, because my fear is right now, I believe that right now the FMCSA and SAFER are trying to kind of like merge a website together. And that being said, I'd hate to provide a link that, let's say, is an absolutely viable link today, but maybe in 2 weeks from now is not. So that's why I'm going to include the Google search terms in there. But, you know, just to get back to let you guys know that I do respond to the comments that I get from you guys. When I got comments from people like this, I said, you know, again, not to worry, I will make an update when mine is due, and it just so happens that we're in May of 2025 and mine is absolutely due right now. So first things first, I mean, how do you know when your biennial update is due? It actually comes down to the last 2 digits of your DOT number. Second to the last digit, if it's an even, first off, it's due every 2 years. If the second to the last digit is an even number, it's due in even years. If the second to the last digit is an odd number, it's due in odd years. Again, every 2 years. And then the final digit of your DOT number corresponds to what month it's due. So 1 January, 2 February, 3 February, on and on and on, to where like 0 is October. So clearly nobody has one of these that's due in November, December. But that last digit determines the date to which your biennial update is due. So there's 2 parts to this process. I'm intentionally leaving out due to my own like privacy reasons. It would just be too much to redact on the screen. One is your access to a site called login.gov. It's real simple to go there. I'll put a link to the website. It's real simple to go there and set up a website, but basically having access to login.gov is the same login. It's basically your access to like all government websites. So in other words, you're gonna need this to get into the FMCSA to do what we're doing today, which is like the biennial update. You're also gonna need a login.gov account. It's the same account that's gonna get you into like your drug and alcohol clearinghouse. So having access to login.gov, one thing I'm leaving out of this video. It's something you can do on your own, but it's relatively simple to do. The other thing I'm leaving out of this is my FMCSA PIN number. You do need to be in possession of your FMCSA PIN number. Historically, when I set up my trucking business, the only way to get this was through snail mail. They sent you a picture. It was this alphanumeric code that they, you know, they said, this is important, don't lose this. Obviously, I never lost mine. That used to be the only way to get it. I'll put another link to getting this PIN number. Now they have what they refer to as their immediate option, which they say that they're able to email you your PIN number. The only thing I would caution you on this is if you're one of those people who, let's say, had a company, a service, whatever, starts your trucking company up for you, you want to be sure that, you know, did they use your email address when they started it up, or did they use the service's email address when they started up? So you could be, you know, you could be requesting that PIN number, and that PIN number could be being delivered to the service you originally hired to do this. So it might be worth getting in touch with the FMCSA and just finding out, like, hey, what address of record do you have for my business? What email of record do you have for me as the owner of this business? So something to keep in mind there when seeking out that PIN number. But even if yours isn't, like, let's say your biennial update isn't due for, you know, 4, 5, 6 months from now, these are 2 things, that login.gov and that FMCSA PIN number. Those are things, there's nothing stopping you from starting getting those today, and I would encourage you to do those so that you have them when it's ready to go. So I mentioned contacting the FMCSA. Here is a pro tip. You got 2 choices. You can either go to their website and find their contact number and give them a call, which I did yesterday. It's an 800 number. I was on that call for 1 hour and 41 minutes before I gave up. And I had this brilliant idea about, I'd say, an hour and 10 minutes into it of, there's got to be another way to reach out to them. There is. I'm going to put a link to it. I'm also going to put the Google term I used to find it, but there's an FMCSA chat option where you can get in there. As soon as I logged in there to the chat option, it said, you know, you're like number 21, 22 in line. Your estimated wait time is 20 minutes. And sure enough, within about 20 minutes later, so I was chatting with somebody. I asked them a question. They answered it. It was much, much simpler. That's why I ended up giving up on the call. I hung up the call at 1 hour and 41 minutes. It had never been answered. I wish I had started with the chat. So pro tip there, you need to contact the FMCSA. Definitely do it through the chat, not the 800 number. So with my login.gov and with my FMCSA PIN number, I logged into the FMCSA portal. Again, I'll put a link to it. Pretty easy to find. If this link is broken, you're just going to search FMCSA login portal. Up at the upper left-hand corner, there's a little box up there that says registration, and there's a drop-down menu that says that you click on that says it says update biennial update MCS 150. Now here's where I ran into a problem because I use iOS devices. I kept having the same screen come up that said something went wrong, something went wrong. I had to go into my settings on my iPad. I actually went into my settings, and if you search for block pop-up blockers or something like that, there's a default setting that's turned on. You want to turn that setting off. Now, as soon as I turned that setting off, I went back and retried the same thing. It brought up this screen, which was which at the bottom of it, it said MCS 150 update, click here. That's exactly what I did. Now you can see in this first screen, it defaulted to interstate. I probably didn't need to check interstate again, but I did, and went ahead and clicked continue. It didn't change anything. The next screen is like all the business pedigree information. I mean, in my situation, nothing was changing. The address was the same, the phone was the same, the email was the same, but this is where, had there been a change in your business, this is where you would want to make those changes. And at this point, you're almost done. There's just one more screen, which is so you know, you continue on to that next screen, and then this last screen, the only thing you're having to update on there that I had to update on there was the mileage that I ran for last year, 2024, and then I changed the year to 2024, and at the bottom I hit modify. Now for me, as a one guy, one truck operation, super simple to do. There was no changes, but let's say I was a bigger company, or let's say my equipment count had changed, or my driver count had changed. This is where you would want to make those changes and then hit the modify button. And when you hit the modify button, you are done. The last screen that comes up, there's a little blue octagon button that says go, and it says it basically says generate MCS 150. There's a little blue octagon button. By clicking that, it brings up your new updated MCS 150 in like PDF format, and I highly would recommend saving that into your files for your records for later on should you need it. Here's the important thing to keep in mind. It takes one full business day for that MCS 150, the new date, to be reflected on the SAFER website. Why did I contact the FMCSA yesterday, Monday? It's because I did this update on a Sunday, and I got on there Monday thinking like, oh, it's gonna be reflected on the new date that I did this on May 15th, but it was still showing the prior time's date and everything like that. So, you know, my whole purpose for getting in touch with the FMCSA was like, hey, how come it's still on SAFER? How come it's still showing that, you know, it hasn't been updated? I thought this took a day. It does take one full business day. So if you're like somebody like me, you do it on a weekend day. I'm assuming if you do, and I know for sure if you do this on a Saturday, it's not going to be if you do this on a Sunday, it's not going to be reflected until a Tuesday. But basically, by me doing mine on a Sunday, it didn't change on Monday. But on on Tuesday, today, I'm waking up and I can get onto that SAFER website and I can see that my biennial update, the last time it was updated was 5/15, which is exactly what it tells me that I did the process right. So why make this video? I mean, ultimately, end of the day, I hope it helps you. This is the time of the year that just pisses me off, that my inbox fills up with all sorts of threats and offers of, you know, you can be put out of service, you can be fined $1,000 a day, which those are all fine and valid, and I don't mind, and keep in mind, those are real, and I don't mind hearing those threats from the proper source, which is the FMCSA. What I don't like hearing them from, where I don't like hearing them from, are from these third-party services looking to shake you down, that are interested on banking on your ignorance, on not knowing how to do something that, let's be realistic, who's gonna be good at this? This is something we maybe do like once every 2 years. Not that we need an analogy for this, but if I'm doing 40 and a 35, and those blue and red lights come on behind me and I get pulled over and that cop decides to write me up for speeding, I can accept that because it's coming from the proper source. If I'm driving down the same road at the same speed and a civilian walks out in front of me, throws their hands up and says, you're going 40 and a 35. You could get a ticket for this. You better give me $200, otherwise I'm gonna call the police. There's gonna be a definite different reaction from me. I mean, they better get the out of my way, otherwise what's getting ready to happen is definitely gonna make the evening news. So, I mean, my point in making this for you is you're gonna get a lot of these. I hate being sold out of fear. You're gonna get a lot of these emails trying to sell you out of fear of, all they're doing is stating the FMCSA consequences, and what they're trying to do is to separate you from your money. So my purpose in making this is, take that $200 and put it back where it rightfully belongs. $200 for something that takes 2 minutes. How many people make $6,000 an hour? Oh, but if the emails bother you that much, how come you don't hit unsubscribe? Why would I hit unsubscribe? This is a constant source of content for me. Oh, but these companies might not like that you talk bad about them in your videos. Well, these companies shouldn't be filling up my inbox with bullshit. Oh, but these companies probably didn't know that you'd make a video about them. Well, I'm pretty easy to find. Maybe they should take me off their list.